Echoes of the Lost. When I first heard about the forest at the edge of town, I thought it was nothing more than another local legend, the kind people told to scare kids or keep hikers from wandering too far. They called it the Lost Wood. Everyone said it was cursed, that if you entered at dusk, you'd hear voices, whispers of those who'd gone missing in there, lost forever. I didn't believe it. I wasn't the superstitious type. But after hearing the story over and over, my curiosity got the best of me. I had to know if there was any truth to it. So on a cold autumn evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself standing at the edge of that forest. It was eerily quiet. The trees towered overhead, their twisted branches forming dark, jagged shapes against the fading sky. The air felt thick, heavy with something I couldn't quite place. I'd packed light, just a flashlight, a bottle of water, and my phone. I figured I'd explore for a couple of hours, take a few pictures, and head back. Nothing to it. The first hour was uneventful. The trail, though narrow and overgrown, was easy to follow. The only sounds were the crunch of leaves under my boots and the occasional rustle of the wind through the trees. But as the light faded and night began to settle in, something changed. The forest grew darker, quicker than I expected. My flashlight barely cut through the shadows, and soon the path became harder to follow. The trees seemed closer, their branches stretching out like bony fingers. The wind picked up, carrying with it a strange, low hum, like distant whispers carried on the breeze. I paused, shining my light around, scanning the woods for any sign of movement, but there was nothing, just trees and darkness. Still, the hum persisted, a soft murmur just beyond the range of my hearing. I shrugged it off, telling myself it was just the wind. But as I pressed on, the whispers grew louder. They weren't just background noise anymore. They were voices, distinct, though impossible to understand. I stopped, my pulse quickening, and turned in a slow circle, shining my flashlight around the dense forest. That's when I saw it, a figure, just at the edge of the light, barely visible among the trees. My heart lurched, and I stepped back, gripping the flashlight tighter. I called out, my voice shaky. "Hello?" No response. The figure didn't move. It just stood there, shadowy and indistinct. My breath hitched in my throat as I stared at it, my mind racing. Was it someone lost? A trick of the light? Or something else? I took a tentative step forward, the beam of my flashlight shaking as I aimed it toward the figure. But before I could get closer, it vanished. No sound, no movement, just gone. My blood ran cold. I tried to tell myself it was my imagination, but the whispers, they were louder now, more insistent. And they weren't coming from one direction. They were all around me. Panicking, I turned back toward the trail, but the path was gone. The trees seemed to have shifted, closing in around me, their branches twisting in ways that defied logic. I spun in circles, trying to find any familiar landmark, but the forest had swallowed the trail, leaving me stranded in the middle of nowhere. The whispers rose to a fever pitch, and now I could make out words. My name. Jack. I froze. The voices were calling my name. Not just one voice, many. And they weren't coming from one place. They were everywhere, surrounding me. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my phone, desperate to call for help. But when I pulled it from my pocket, the screen was blank, dead, even though it had been fully charged when I left. I cursed under my breath, fear creeping up my spine. The flashlight began to flicker, the beam dimming as the batteries drained at an unnatural pace. The darkness pressed in. I spun around again, my heart pounding in my chest. That's when I saw another figure, this one closer, clearer, a woman. Her hair was long, tangled and matted, her clothes tattered and covered in dirt. Her face was pale, almost translucent, her eyes hollow. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the flashlight. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice cracking. She didn't answer. She just stared at me, her lips barely moving as she whispered something I couldn't make out. I backed away, my legs trembling, but as I turned, more figures appeared. Dozens of them. Men, women, children, all of them standing just at the edge of the light, their eyes dark and empty. The whispers grew louder, overlapping until they became a cacophony of voices. My name, Jack, Jack, Jack. I ran. I didn't care which direction. I just ran. My flashlight flickered out completely, leaving me in total darkness. The whispers followed me, growing more frantic, more desperate. The forest seemed to twist and shift around me, the trees bending in unnatural ways, blocking my path at every turn. I stumbled over roots, my breath ragged, my chest tight with fear. The figures were everywhere now, their hollow eyes watching me, their hands reaching out as I passed. I could feel the air grow colder, the ground beneath me softening as if the earth itself was pulling me down. I tripped, falling hard onto my hands and knees. Dirt and leaves clung to my skin as I scrambled to get up. But when I looked up, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A clearing, in the middle of the forest. And in that clearing, a pit. Deep, dark, and filled with the faint, eerie glow of something moving below the surface. The whispers grew louder, more frantic. The figures surrounded the pit, their empty eyes fixed on me, their mouths moving in unison. I could barely make out the words they were chanting, but it was clear enough. Join us! I backed away, but the ground beneath me gave way. I fell, sliding toward the pit, my fingers clawing at the earth, trying to stop myself. But the pull was too strong. The last thing I remember before I fell into the darkness was the sound of the voices echoing all around me. And then, nothing. I never made it out of that forest, but I can still hear the whispers. And now, so will you.